Welcome to the Tabletop Sportcast. I'm your host, James Cast. Today is July 6, 2025, and this is episode 213. Today, we'll be doing my Q2 Retrospective. We're going to take a look at all the events, all the projects, all the gaming sessions that took place over the past 3 months. We'll also dive into some of the metrics around some of the social media, the podcast, just to give you an idea about how things are going overall for the Tabletop Sportcast. As always, if you'd like to send me an email, you can do that at tabletopsportcast@gmail.com. Love to hear your thoughts on past episodes, ideas for future episodes, or just to talk about your latest projects. Last episode was episode 212. We did a recap of Play.con 2025. We talked a lot about the different events that took place. If you attended, you knew all about it. If you didn't attend, hopefully it kind of gave you some more insights once again into some of the live events. We'll probably be talking about those a little bit more again today. And also, there's a lot of recaps out there. So hopefully you've been able to catch a few of the other ones that are out there. Lots of people who attended are doing recaps in their own ways. So please, go out, check that out, get people's perspectives on what it's like to attend these live events. As you can see today, we're going to be doing a little bit of a video recap here. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into today's episode as well. But yes, we will be recording this both for the podcast and for YouTube all in one shot. So hopefully this will be something that I can set up as a new trend and make this work going forward. For my tabletop gaming, if you want to keep up with that, you can check out Facebook at facebook.com/tabletop sportcast. That's where you'll find my page, and I try to post there a few times a week and let you know what's going on with my projects, what's going on with the podcast. Just use it as a good communication base for the podcast. Speaking of my tabletop, let's talk about my weekly highlight. And I'm going to take you over to the scorecard, which was Fritzy Zivic going against Freddie Cochran. This is part of a project that I am doing where I wanted to replay a bunch of championship fights using Legends of Boxing 2. All these fights will be from the 1940s. This happened to be a welterweight championship fight, and you can see this one right here on the old list. We have this one from 1941. This is a fight that actually Fritzy Zivic had ended up winning, a welterweight fight from 1941. But as you can see for Fritzy Zivic, this one ended poorly for him. He actually got disqualified. We had he's a dirty fighter, first and foremost. And you can see he had a number of events with flagrant fouls and picked up 10 foul points throughout the fight. He was probably in a little bit of trouble anyway. You can see because of some of those, he was already going to be losing points on the scorecard from rounds. This was round 2, and this is round 4. He was doing okay punch-wise. I think it was about even on TKO points, and that was unfortunate for him. So, but I would say overall, like you can see, the scores of the rounds was about even. So the fight was pretty close, although Zivic was in a little bit of trouble considering his fouls. You can also see that both fighters were taking some damage from different cut points too. So this one did not go based on historical fighting. This one, Cochran ends up getting the win. Zivic is disqualified. It's really the first time that I can remember with Legends of Boxing getting a disqualification. I usually don't get them, and this was the first time that I can remember in a long time. It may have happened early on in my days of playing Legends of Boxing, but this is the first time I can remember a fighter actually getting DQ'd for foul points. So that was my recap of the weekly highlight. All right, what we're going to do now is switch over to the Q2 Retrospective, and we're going to start with a look at the numbers. We're going to start with the podcast itself, and we'll bring some things over as we go here. And I'll be looking a little bit over to my other screen as we do this, but you can see that this is the analytics for the past 90 days. Specifically for Spotify, we've had almost 600 consumption hours of the podcast, and we've added 24 followers on Spotify for the podcast, which is really great. Crossed over 50,000 downloads, so posted this on the Facebook page. But thank you again to everybody for your continued support here for the podcast. You can see we're averaging right around 250 people per episode, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the specific episodes as we go in here too. With the analytics, with Spotify, specifically for Spotify, you can see this is just in the past week. We've reached like 711 people on Spotify, and this means that the podcast is featured like on the homepage or on somebody's search page. So 711 people saw some kind of content from the podcast. It converts about 13.2% of those folks to people who actually showed interest. And you can see that this means they actually interacted with the show somehow. 94 people did that in the past week, or past month, I should say. And finally, people who consumed it, from people who showed interest to people who consumed it, we're averaging about almost like 78% consumption or conversion rate. And these are people who actually spent at least 60 seconds listening to an episode. So that's pretty solid. You can see that this is where people were finding the content, most of them through the homepage, some on the search, some from their library. And the impressions are pretty high over that same 30-day period, 5,600 impressions. And then there was a couple of shares with the episode too. Speaking of episodes, let's take a look at the current standings for the top episodes. And we will do this based on total streams and downloads. And still sitting at number one, pretty comfortable lead here, is episode 124. This was one of my sit downs with St. Patrick from 2023. Gary Brown's interview from 2024 sits in here at number 2. And then number 3 is Keith Avallone's interview. This was my 100th episode, and that sits at number 3. The most recent episode, if you can see, my sitting down with Al Wilson has cracked into the top 10 here, giving Al like 3 in my top 10 episodes of all time. So doing pretty well there. So those are the numbers for the podcast. We are also going to take a look real quick at Patreon and, overall our audience and the dashboard here. That's where I want it to go. So you can see that we are making progress. We've got a number of people in here. I've been adding posts as I go through, just to give people an idea about some of the files that I've got. We're currently sitting at like 39 paid memberships. I think 41 total, 36 paid memberships. Thank you. That's what it is. So our insights here, we've got 41 active members. That's up 6 in the past 30 days. We can probably go, 30 days is good. We've added 7 new members, or we have 7 new members, 5 of those in the past recent time, and then we had 1 that canceled. So that's what we have for Patreon. Moving over now to YouTube, which is an area of opportunity for the podcast for sure. You can see I've published now 19 videos. I've got 9 separate playlists that you can access. We've got a total of 75 people who have subscribed to YouTube, and we've had 1 purchase, which I'm not really sure what that would be for, and then over 100 comments on those videos. Obviously, not creating a lot of content here, and this is something I'm hoping to change, and that might start to drive some of the subscriptions. And what we'll be doing is every now and again recording some of the podcasts through video as well. I don't think it'll be something I do on a weekly basis, but probably I'm going to shoot for like once a month or so, but we'll talk more about that soon. And then lastly, for like our by the numbers piece, we're going to come over here to Facebook with the page, and we're going to start with views. And this is looking at Q2 specifically, April 1st through June 30th. You can see that the page was viewed over 13,000 times, which is great, although that is down from Q1. So down slightly from Q1. We have had content type, people interacted with photos almost 60% of the time, links about 30% of the time, and text about 9%. I think that's just the type of content that I'm posting. You can see also that about a 3 out of 10 people who visit the page are non-followers. So if you are one of those non-followers, go ahead and follow the page. We're doing pretty well in terms of like adding followers. You can see the top content here from May 4th. Like this one had 948 views. It was us posting one of the podcast episodes. The second one, almost half of that, 508 views for a recent post from last month on June 13th. And then third was like this one just after when I posted from play.con. You can see the mountains out there in the distance, and that had 374 views. Again, number one post here was this one, episode 204, an inside look at bank shot basketball. Shocking, right? So that was the number one episode. You can kind of get an idea like of the things that you get from Facebook in terms of like page content. So 16 people interacted with that post. You can see most of it from pretty much our gaming community average age here. All right. So that takes care of that. And I don't really do any earnings on the page, so nothing really to cover there. And I think that that's about it for inside the numbers. So we'll put these back. And then what we've got next is let's talk about how things are going with the gaming log. All right. This will be kind of our last piece of inside the numbers. So where I stand currently is I'm at 2,814 gaming sessions completed since I started this on September 1st of 2020. Where we stand currently for the year, we've got, and I will tell you what these numbers mean. So right up here, and these are all the trackers that I typically keep track of on my gaming log. So we've got 69 games that have made it to my table. You can see the check marks give you an idea about all the games that I have been playing on my tabletop so far this year. Not all of them are sports games. There are a number of like non-sports games that I also have been playing. But so far, we're up to 69 games played for the year and just over 300 gaming sessions. So I'm averaging about 50 gaming sessions a month, which puts me on track to have about 600 gaming sessions for the year. What I like to do as I'm tracking is also keep track of how I'm doing versus like an average number. So you can see here that I'm looking to have about 20% of all the games I own be in the green, which means I've played them in the last 30 days. Doing pretty well there, mostly because of play.con. I usually get bumps from the live events if I happen to, especially play.con, where I have a number of days there, get a chance to try a bunch of different games. So right now this is a little inflated, but that's my goal, is to be right around 22 games that stay active every 30 days. That's sometimes is lower, sometimes higher. I want about 30% of my games to be within the past 90 days. I think that's what this is going to be. And Yes, within the past 90 days. So only 16. So you can see where the drop off is. And this is because a lot of games stay in repeat for most of the quarter, like through things like quarterly projects and things like that. And then obviously this is a little higher because this is too low, but 54 games that we're looking to keep in the red. And the red just means that it's been more than 90 days. You can see some of these numbers. Some of these games, like Highlight, haven't played it in over a year. I'm up over 440. Same with Fury Football. So some of the games slip off until I get them on the table for another project. And depending on when I schedule those projects, it might slip back and forth there. And I've got some games that have been even longer. Some of these are approaching. This one, Regatta, is approaching almost 2 years. I'll probably be getting this on the table soon, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit as well. So that's kind of where we stand. Last thing is projects. All told, my project count, and now this is a number that's a bit inflated, 268 projects, but there are some things here that I just use like simple names for these projects. I think my real project here is probably closer to like something in this range where I've got about 70 that have at least hit the small. Probably about half of these are legit projects. So I would say this 268 is a little inflated, but 32 projects so far this year. And the way you can tell which projects I've been doing for the year is they get this green signifying that the most recent date played was sometime during 2025. So some of these things include non-projects like solo play is a non-project. Some of these are also like non-sports projects. This is me playing some Dungeons and Dragons, some family gaming, things like that. The ones in gold are the active sports projects that I'm working on right now. So you can see there's nothing really old that is active. So the active projects that I've got going on, this one's kind of halted. I'm not really going back to this anytime soon. This is my current D&D campaign that I am playing. I've got an AGL season 4. This is Grid Zone. My game of the week, my historical replays. This is my current wrestling project, the Grand Championship Wrestling that I'm doing with Face to the Mat. My 2024 Mets replay. We'll talk a little bit about that. This one I just kind of started using some Drive Time Football, 2007 Giants replay. Taking part in the 1981-82 NHL Co-op hosted by Andy Sexton. The 2023 NFL Co-op also hosted by Andy Sexton. And then the 1940s championship fights that we just talked about a little bit ago. All these other ones in here with this bluish color are the projects that I've actually finished so far this year. And you can see a number of these actually did finish up in the past quarter, like Play.con, my 1981 MLB tournament. We'll talk more about that. Digital Dice Con, my May tournament, the Play Tour, things like that. So those are all the projects that we've been able to complete. And so far for the year, 32 projects are either active or finished for the year so far from the gaming log. So that's kind of where we stand right now with our look inside the numbers for various things. So now let's get over and start talking a little bit more about our retrospective. And we're going to start with kind of like what went well. And I would say that the beginning of that is going to be like completing sessions. So this is my project board, and we don't always share this, but you've probably seen it in different glimpses. So this is kind of like on the left-hand side is where I keep track of my kind of annual board, and we'll touch on that a little bit. And then this is where I actually schedule the sessions for the month. So when I say like completing sessions, you can see that right now for the first half of 2025, I don't have any sessions that are still on the board. Everything that's on the board is for the second half of the year. And I've even started like getting the things done for the first week of July too. So I'm staying on track pretty well with getting my sessions completed. And as you can tell by the number of games that I've played, I've also been able to get a good mix of other games in. And when you can average like 50 gaming sessions, obviously I'm scheduling somewhere around 30 a month, because I do try to plan every day of the month. There are some things that are non-gaming session oriented, and we'll look at like July, for instance. When you get to like the July month, you'll notice that like what we've got here is podcast episodes that I am planning. So here is today. I have some of the games that I'm working on creating, and we'll talk a little bit more about game creation soon, and then all the projects that I am currently working on as well. This is my 1940s fighting project. This is my 2024 Mets replay. These are my games of the week, which can include my historical replays as well. Here's Grand Championship Wrestling and the Grid Zone project. That's what I've got planned for this month. So in addition to all these sessions, and some of these have multiple sessions, right? You've got 6 games of Grid Zone in this one box. You've got a 3-game series for each of these and a 2-game series here. So sometimes there's multiple sessions in a single box. So when I say I'm scheduling like 30, it's really between 30 and 40 typically right out of the gate. And then if I can mix in an extra game or two, then those start to add to the totals. So that's something that has gone really well, is getting like sessions completed. I did a really good job of getting through the month of the Q2. We'll take a little bit of a look here at what we were able to do over the last couple of months. Oops, let's do this. So you can see up top, this is April, May, and June right through here. So we finished our 2023-24 English Premiership League. This is where I did like a World Cup format tournament and had the Wolves come out on top somehow. I also started in May my 2024 Mets replay. This one's going to continue for a few months, probably maybe even the rest of this year is a good chance. What I have next as I kind of go down the list here. So History Maker Baseball, always on, working on the 2024 Mets replay. I did wrap up my Brooklyn Dodgers mini replay in April. So that was one of the projects completed in Q2. My quarterly projects, usually it's just the one per quarter. This is where the 1940s classic fights are coming into play. My monthly showcase, we did a dodgeball tournament in April. We did a roller rumble tournament in May. And now we finished, and I actually just finished, so I'm going to mark this one off now. But we just finished our HMB Express tournament, which I decided to do over 2 months just because of the number of sessions that was going to need. This was won by the New York Yankees, winning my 1981 replay. Now, that was... I'd sometimes like to move things around. So even though I come up with this plan, you'll notice over here I've eliminated what my project is going to be. And that's because I had planned on using the 1981 season for more of a History Maker full season project, or at least a full game project. I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to execute it, and that's when I decided to just move it to Express. I have picked up a couple of new sets, so there's a good chance that I will move a different set into here to be the next replay one, but this is probably going to extend later into the year anyway, because I am not close to getting that one finished. The other thing that I have on here as we move down this plan is to look at my games of the week. Now, this is both good and bad, but you can see all the different games that I was working on getting to the table, and I think most of these are the ones, that I actually played. So a lot of different games. This is how I'm also getting a lot of games to the table, is to get these games of the week completed. And you saw that on the other sheet where I had like 5 different games scheduled for the month of July. So this has gone really well in terms of making sure I get a good variety of games, is just to have a different game that I try to get on the table every week. So you can see the various games, all different sizes. I've gone from things like Bull Ride Hero that takes just a couple minutes to play, to like Draft Duel, to like, Red Ice Hockey, Belmont Stakes. So there's a lot of different size games here. This was Bank Shot. So this was one of the longer ones that's on this list. As I'm looking at this, these are probably not exactly the ones. Yeah, I did actually get all these games completed. I'm trying to think if I got Draft Duel or not. Next up here is game creation, and this is another place where things have gone pretty well. We did complete the Bannister Mile, although I will say it is probably coming back into rotation as I got some lessons learned from actually playing the game at Play.con. Got a chance to show off a number of these games there. We've also got the Fury Stakes and Calcio, and then we've got our podcast episodes down below. So more to come on these. That's the ones we've been able to finish so far. And then the final one is kind of like my ongoing projects. And while both of these are listed, I think these are just going to stay active for pretty much the entire year. Even though I have them kind of finishing here in June, they're really going to stay active for most of the year. So getting games to the table, completing gaming sessions, and game creation are three things. I was able to get not only the Bannister Mile, but we also were able to get the Fury Stakes and my newest game, Calcio, on the table in front of people at Play.con. Really happy with that. Fury Stakes, I also had showcased a little bit at Digital Dice Con back in May. So I've been getting some good feedback on both of these games. And you can see like the Fury Stakes, I'm hoping to do some more work on that next month. And probably wrap up for a little while on the Fury Stakes at that point. Calcio is the one that I'm going to probably focus on right now to get across the finish line. And then I've actually started, so this is my next game, Foils, and more to come on that one. I'll probably be able to talk about that in a couple of weeks, but just have started the early design process of what that game is going to look like. Now, I've mentioned a number of live events. Q2 was also the quarter where I got a chance to attend 3 live events, IndieCon, Digital to DiceCon, and Play.con. And all 3 events were fantastic. Gave me a great chance to get a lot of gaming done, show off some of my games, talk to a whole lot of people in the community, set up future interviews. All those things took place as a result of those live events. I've talked about each of them in detail, but definitely want to say that that's something that went well. I'm going to back out of Gridiron Games. We've decided to plan a family vacation instead. I am going to be looking at potentially another event that I can attend, or maybe another couple of events for the rest of this year. But Gridiron Games, unfortunately, is not going to be one of them. I'm going to miss out on that this year. But if you are planning on going, I would still recommend it. It's a fantastic event. Jeff does a great job of running that. The Football Hall of Fame is an awesome place to visit. And you're going to get a chance to see some of the top football game designers in the business, right? So, definitely attend that one and be ready to kind of try out some of those different games. All right, so that's what went well. Now, what didn't go well? Well, we'll go back again to YouTube, right? I think this is number 1 on the list. Is I keep talking about trying to get YouTube content created. So here's my attempt to do that and start to rectify that. I think getting that number of videos up is the first key. And then I think a lot of the other pieces of the puzzle will start to fall into place after that. We'll get more subscriptions. We'll get more people viewing the content. That might even lead to more people going to my Facebook page, might lead to more people actually listening to the podcast. So we're going to start using YouTube. And, it was interesting, at Play.con, taking part in that panel on social media. One of the other things that was mentioned was utilizing other social media forms. And I really am not utilizing anything else. So there's a chance that in the second half of the year, I don't know if it'll start in the Q3 or not, but, utilizing things that I'm not used to using, things like Instagram or TikTok is a possibility. I'm not going to say it's something I'm definitely committing to, but I think we did talk about the reach and what it can do. And there were some ideas that were mentioned that I think could be really cool. So more to come on that front. But thinking about starting to utilize more social media streams than just Facebook. The second part was historical replays. So again, going back here to this event's page, I only really completed, as you can see in Q2 here, this was the only event that I actually completed that was on my historical events list. this technically was kind of one of those, and I will show you. Let's see, I think, is it this one? Yeah, this is one of the sheets that I used to start planning the year and deciding like how I was going to get different games to the table and what I was going to utilize them for. And somewhere over here, I came up with my list of like historical events. So this is how I approach historical events. Is I basically go back every 10 years, but I also do like the 25th anniversary and the 75th anniversary. So this is the list of things that I came up with that I wanted to do. Now, so far this year, I have completed like American Pharaoh is done. I've done that one. I did Villanova Shocking Georgetown. And that's it. That's all I've done so far. I think there was 4 actually that I've completed because I think I came up with some alternate things here. But none of these are jumping out to me. So let's see from the game log. Control F, V. Yeah, so I did play the final game of the Celtics back in January. So that's one. I did, I did a Houston Wrestling. This was an awesome one where I did the main event where Jim Duggan took on Ted DiBiase in just like this crazy match with all these stipulations. We got the Villanova versus Georgetown for 1985, and then we had the Belmont Stakes. So really, from this one, 1985, I actually did 2 events for, which is unusual for me. So but I also got this one done. So let's mark this off. So I postponed this one a few times now. I'm going to have to get this one finally taken care of in Q2. I am planning on playing this Cy Young's 500th game this month. And Sugar Ray Robinson versus Jake LaMotta is also going to happen this month. These are all on my schedule to play in the month of July, as you can see here. Here's the 500th win. Here is the March Madness UCLA versus Kentucky from 1975. And then here is LaMotta and Robinson. So those 3 events are going to get taking place this month. So historical replays is something I let slip a little bit. So I'm going to have to put more of a focus on that for the second half of the year. The other issue I've been having is with new games. I've been picking up new games, but I haven't been really getting them to the table all the time. At Digital to Dice, I was able to get Shootout Hockey and On Deck Baseball, and I got one more game too. Oh, and then the John Turnbull games. I got all 3 of his games. So John's games I got to the table. I've gotten Red Ice Hockey, Baseline Basketball, and Drive Time Football all on the table. So those did well. Just yesterday, I finally got On Deck Baseball on the table, but I haven't actually finished a full game. I played about 5 innings just to make sure I got the basic mechanics down. I think I got that figured out. I will go back and actually play like a real game of that pretty soon. So you can see that is on the map here for this month. At Play.con, I ended up picking up the new fishing game, which I have played in the past, but haven't played it. I don't think I've played it yet this year. So we'll take a look here again with the data. And did I get the fishing game onto the table yet? Yes, I did. I have actually played, right, because I played it at Play.con. So yes, Real-Time Pro Fishing made it to the table. I've also picked up APA Baseball. So that's one that I have to get on the table, and I've got that scheduled later this month as well. And then I have some other games. I had gotten this game Bowl Challenge back at the holiday party from Play. Haven't gotten that yet to the table just yet. And looking in my closet here, I think that's... and I also have Win, Place, and Show that I have to still get on the table, and I had purchased that sometime last year as well. So there's a lot of new games that have been getting into my collection that have to still get played. And I'm going to make an effort this quarter to really start to put those on the table a little bit more often, because they just haven't been... Because I hadn't scheduled them, and this is one of the downsides to scheduling everything, because I hadn't scheduled them, I don't always make time to get them on the table. So that's something I have to really work on, is when I get a new game, put it on the schedule, bounce something else for the time being. All right. So what's going to be done differently? Those are our three main questions we ask in a retrospective. What went well, what didn't go well, and then from that, what are we going to do differently? So I've mentioned a few of these already, but scheduling the new games, I've got 2 of them scheduled for this month already with On Deck and APA. So I'm working on getting those other games scheduled as well as we go forward. Commit to the historical replays. Again, in July, I've got 2 of those scheduled. Actually, 3 of them, because I also got this one. So 3 historical events will get done in July. That gets me back on track for my historical replays. And then, third one here, start recording on YouTube regularly. So that is my third, got to start doing differently. And again, trying to start that today and hopefully keep that as something I can do on a regular basis. So that's really it. As we look forward to kind of like what's coming up in Q2, we'll take a look up here mostly at the plan. As we talked about, Q3, what's coming up in Q3, we are going to continue with the 2024 Mets replay, the 1940s classic fights. I've got about 19 fights scheduled, I believe. Yep. So working on those. Finished up this for my monthly events, finished up the HMB Express tournament. Next month, I'm going to do a Grand Slam for the 1980 PGA season. This is one of the seasons I picked up at the holiday sale. So this will be with History Maker Golf. We're going to do 4 events, obviously, for the Grand Slam. And then in August, I'm going to be doing a replay of the Men's French Open for 2005. This was one of my historical events that I wanted to get done. And this is the Rafael Nadal one that we have right up here. I have to actually create the cards for this. So that's one of the other things I'll be working on for this one. And you can see sometimes, like when I put these red stars on it, it means that I actually have to go ahead and create the cards for them. This one I actually did. So this one I can now switch to gold because I actually did create the cards for that event. Most of the other ones you can see I don't really have to do much to create them. I've got these dark blue ones are some of the historical events that I'm going to work on. So you can see I've got yet another 1985 event, going to play some Nippon baseball, because I threw some extra ones in like that Houston wrestling one. And this is my 1965 MLB. You can see this one on this list here is Bert Campaneris became one of the first, I think he was the first player to play all 9 positions. So I'm going to recreate that game where Bert is going to play all 9 positions in a game. I've got Lou Gehrig's first game that I've purchased the 1925 season for season ticket baseball. So we're going to play the first game of his streak when he began like the Iron Horse streak. And then using Player of the Game Golf from Downey, I'll be replaying the 2000 PGA tournament. This is another one of my historical events here for Tiger Woods. He wins that was when he won the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach by like 15 strokes. So those are some of the events that we have scheduled. You can see starting to work on getting a couple of the games that have yet to be on the table. These are all games that have yet to be on the table this year. I will probably have to bounce 1 or 2 of these. Probably Payoff Pitch Softball is going to get bounced a little bit later to get something like Win, Place, and Show on the table or Bowl Challenge. These are some games that I really want to work on getting to the table at some point. So I have to start to push things out to be able to get some of those games on. All right. And that's kind of where we stand. That is my Q2 retrospective. You got a little bit of glimpse into how everything's going with the podcast, what's going on with my gaming log. And, right now feeling really good. This is the first time I've actually gotten to like the middle of the year. Projects are on track. And I think it's because I've reduced the number of projects that I'm trying to do this year. Game creation is on track. Really, most except for YouTube, I would say almost everything is kind of on track. Even like with the historical events, I would say it's like a slight delay there, and it's not a major one. I'm a little behind, but I've got plenty of room to get caught up on it. And a lot of it's just because I was trying to get other games on the table instead. So that's what I'll do with my schedule, is kind of balance some things. Like, for instance, March Madness, just a little bit more of a timely game. Not something that I always want to be able to get on the table. So because it takes a little more time, these are the kinds of games that I will sometimes push off just a little bit and wait on doing. But you can see I've also tried to really focus. You can see, like, as we're getting into the summer, I've got a lot of baseball on the schedule because this is baseball season. So this is one of the ways that I'm trying to like take advantage of that. When I get to like the later part of the year, like in Q4, you can start to see a little bit more football getting to the table. I've got breakaway football, I've got fast drive football, second season, pro, D6 Pro Dynasty football. This one is probably going to be, second season, cold snap, 49 quick decks. So I've got, matchup football. So I've got all my football games scheduled for Q4. Q3 has been more focused on baseball. Q1 was more focused on things like basketball and hockey. And hockey will start to pop up again as we get into the later months. And that's it. So that's a wrap on this week's episode, where we took a look back at Q2 and a little bit of a glimpse ahead to Q3 for the Tabletop Sportcast. As always, if you'd like to help support the podcast, you can head on over to patreon.com/Tabletop Sportcast, where $1 a month really does go a long way to helping to offset costs for the podcast. Now, I said this last week, but this time I'm going to hold to it. Next week's episode will be episode 214, and we are going to take an inside look at heroes of short track racing. And I'm also committed to working to get that as a video episode so that you can actually see the game as I sit down and start playing it. But until then, thanks for listening.